So we're back today with another career swap, and we have a young Connor McDavid, 19 years old, 92 overall, and on the Edmonton Oilers we have a young Auston Matthews as well, 19 years old and 86 overall. I'm going to go ahead and simulate their careers over the next 7 NHL games, and we're going to see who's going to have the better career. And if you think Connor McDavid's going to have the better career, subscribe to the channel. But if you think Auston Matthews is going to have the better career, then drop a like on the video. With the addition of Connor McDavid to the Toronto Maple Leafs, they're going to be seeing a ton of success, 8th in the entire league with a 48-32-2 record. And where are the Edmonton Oilers? Well, they're not going to see any success whatsoever. They're finishing all the way down here, 24th in the entire league, 38-39-5, and they're missing the postseason. And with these numbers by Auston Matthews, I don't think it's any surprise they're missing the playoffs. 9 goals. This dude had 9 goals in his rookie season. He scored 4 goals in his debut, but you're telling me in this resimulation he's only picked up 9 goals? That's a tough look. Meanwhile, over in Toronto, McDavid's having a good season, but not up to McDavid standards. 18 goals, 58 assists, 76 points. He is leading the team in points, but that's not good enough for me. I need to see you step up your production. As we know, the Leafs are making the playoffs, and they're going to be taking on the Ottawa Senators in the first round. And although Connor McDavid's on the team, it's still the Toronto Maple Leafs, so I don't think we should really be surprised here. They're falling in the first round in 5 games. I guess some things never change. Considering everything, I guess losing in the first round in 5 games isn't that big of a deal, especially if you're losing to the Stanley Cup champion. Also, the Ottawa Senators took on the Calgary Flames, so we had an all-Canadian Stanley Cup final. Good to see we got a realistic simulation going. For a 5-game series, I'm not really expecting Connor McDavid to do anything impressive, but 2 goals and 3 assists for 5 points is something, I guess. So as we know, these were the bad days for the Edmonton Oilers, and clearly they weren't building around Connor McDavid, and they're obviously not going to be building around Auston Matthews because this team looks absolutely cooked. Toronto, on the other hand, they have a ton of nice pieces here, and I'm expecting them to make a deep postseason push this time around. So we're going to continue to see the Toronto Maple Leafs improving in the standings, 5th in the entire league this time around, 49-29-4. But the real question is the Edmonton Oilers. Did this team make the postseason? It doesn't look like they did. I actually think they did worse this time around. They did 34-38-10. I understand this team's terrible, but you still have Auston Matthews and Leon Draisaitl on the team. I'm expecting a bit more than 34 wins. McDavid's numbers are going to be improving this season. He's up to a point a game, 86 points, 34 goals and 52 assists. But the real question is, what did Auston Matthews do? Because for that team to do so bad, he must have put up only like 50 points. It was ridiculous. Wow, that's actually pretty close to what he put up. 19 goals, 36 assists, 55 points. As the number 1 setter on the Edmonton Oilers, he put up 55 points. And Draisaitl only picked up 58, so he was a massive disappointment as well. This entire Edmonton Oilers team is absolutely chopped, let's be honest though. So we already know what the goal in the postseason is for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Just get out of the first round. The Toronto and Tampa series was going back and forth the entire way. But when it came down to Game 7, Freddie Anderson's going to be standing on his head. He's picking up the shutout, and Toronto's going to be making the second round about 6 years early. And it looks like we're going to have a very interesting second round matchup as we're going to see Connor McDavid taking on Jack Eichel, the number 1 overall pick, taking on the number 2. This is going to be a great matchup to watch. After taking a 3-1 lead in the series, everything was looking great for the Toronto Maple Leafs. But we have to remember, this is the Toronto Maple Leafs, so they're going to drop 3 straight games and they're falling in the second round. Yeah, that's a tough look, not going to lie. After Buffalo took down the Toronto Maple Leafs in the second round, they would go on to lose to the eventual Stanley Cup champion New York Islanders in the conference finals. So unfortunately, it doesn't look like Jack Eichel's going to be getting a Stanley Cup early in his career. But we're not focused on Jack Eichel, we're focused on this man right here, Connor McDavid, and 8 points in 14 games is absolutely unacceptable. Yeah, we're not wasting any more time here. Let's move on to our next NHL game. Now, real talk, Edmonton, eventually you got to make the playoffs, but with this team right here, I don't think it's going to be possible. Toronto, on the other hand, now that you have a 94 overall McDavid, you probably should start competing for Stanley Cups, let alone getting out of the first round, because your team's definitely good enough to do it. Now, this video has slowly gone from swapping the careers of Connor McDavid and Auston Matthews to can Auston Matthews make the playoffs with the Edmonton Oilers, and I guess they can. 12th in the entire league, 43-33-6. Honestly, I didn't think they made the playoffs, so shout out to them. McDavid's going to be having his best season yet, where he's picking up 91 points, consisting of 43 goals and 48 assists. That's a great season from him, plus 30 as well. If Toronto's not making a deep push this season, I don't know what they're doing. Over in Edmonton, me personally, Auston Matthews, I would not be letting Ryan Nugent-Hopkins outscore me. I mean, technically he outscored you this season. He picked up 100 points, and I can't recall what you picked up, but this is NHL 19. So me personally, I wouldn't let that happen. But shout out to the Nuge though, the heart and soul of the Edmonton Oilers. So this is the first playoff where we're going to see both the Toronto Maple Leafs and Edmonton Oilers making it. Obviously, the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to be going on a deeper run because Edmonton, they're just not that good. Let's be honest. So no surprise here. The Edmonton Oilers are getting absolutely dominated through 5 games, and they're going to be falling in the first round. No shocker there. Toronto, on the other hand, you're on pace to blow another 3-1 lead. We can't have that. Thankfully, though, you have a guy by the name of Connor McDavid, and when this game went to overtime, he's going to end up being the hero as he's picking up the game winner, and you're off to the second round. However, this next matchup's definitely going to be a lot tougher. You got the Boston Bruins, and when the Toronto Maple Leafs match up against the Boston Bruins, we already know what the outcome's going to be. However, I completely forgot that we're in a different universe now, and in a quick 5-game series, the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to be coming out on top, and they're off to the conference finals, something they haven't seen in I don't even know how long. It's been a handful handful of decades. So after taking down the Boston Bruins, I said that was going to be our toughest task, but I think this next team might be the Pittsburgh Penguins. This Pittsburgh Penguins team, I don't want to say is in their prime, but they're still an elite team at this time. So Connor McDavid versus Sidney Crosby, that's going to be one of the greatest matchups of all time. To my surprise, the Pittsburgh Penguins are also going to be another team that's just not going to be putting up a fight against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and we're going to be taking them down in 5 games, and here we are in the Stanley Cup final. There's no need for me to go look at the playoff bracket. We're taking on the Nashville Predators. I would not have expected Nashville to make it here, but so far we've split the first 4 games. We're entering game 5. Of course, this is going to be a massive one. Now we're off to game 6, and if we can win this one, we're Stanley Cup champions. If not, we're heading to game 7 elimination, and that's exactly what it's looking like. We're off to game 7. So here we go, game 7 for the Stanley Cup. In the first period, Nashville is going to be taking the lead, and in the second, they're going to be holding on to that lead. It's a 2-1 game now. We're going to go ahead and simulate through the third period, and Toronto's taking over. They're picking up 4 goals in the third period. Patrick Marleau, Zach Hyman, 2 from Connor Brown. Did Connor Brown pick up a hat trick in this game? No, he didn't, but he picked up 2 goals. Connor McDavid picked up 1 in the second period, and just like that, the Toronto Maple Leafs, they're Stanley Cup champions. But it's not the guy you expected to be leading the team. It's actually John Tavares, 19 points in 24 games, while Connor McDavid, 16 points in 24 games, 8 goals, 8 assists. You know what? I'm not going to complain about your numbers. You just want a Stanley Cup. Go and celebrate. Also, here's Auston Matthews' numbers. He picked up 3 points and was -7. Sam Gagner had more points than him. Just had to point that out. So Connor McDavid's been able to win a Stanley Cup with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and now it's time for Auston Matthews to win a Stanley Cup with Edmonton Oilers, because you got to get back, my guy. Like me personally, I wouldn't let Connor McDavid have more Stanley Cups than me. Then again, this Toronto Maple Leafs team is miles better than the Edmonton Oilers, so I mean, it's not really a fair comparison. So McDavid, maybe try to repeat. Do something special this season. Now, Auston Matthews, I was not expecting you to do this. First in the entire league with the Edmonton Oilers, 52, 25, and 5. And where's the Toronto Maple Leafs? Well, that's a great question. What did they do with Connor McDavid? Well, not too much, in fact. 17th in the entire league and missed the playoffs. You're telling me the Toronto Maple Leafs with Connor McDavid aren't making the playoffs? Ain't no way. Now, first, we have to look at the Toronto Maple Leafs, because I cannot figure out how this team isn't making the postseason. 87 points from McDavid, 36 goals, 51 helpers. Was the goaltending just absolutely abysmal or something? I mean, it wasn't great by any means, but it wasn't terrible. Freddie Anderson, 29 wins, 5 shots, a 902 and a 289. I can't really figure out what went wrong with this team, because even looking at their plus minus, that's not inherently bad either. I mean, yeah, this defensive pairing wasn't good, but how did this team miss the playoffs? That doesn't really make sense to me. And what else didn't make sense to me was this team finishing first in the entire league. I mean, it's about time they start making the playoffs, but first in the entire league? No, I wasn't expecting that. 91 points from Auston Matthews, 36 goals, 55 helpers, and Leon Draisaitl's right behind him with 90 points. Okay, I do not understand how this team was so much better than Toronto. Like, it actually doesn't make sense to me. I mean, this kind of explains a bit. Mikko Koskinen, 30 wins, but he also had 7 shutouts, a 919 and a 242. Ain't no way Mikko Koskinen was the difference maker. But the regular season success really doesn't matter too much if you're falling in the first round, and now you gotta take on the Vancouver Canucks. But although they're first in the entire league, it looks like reality's setting in. So far, it's a 3-3 series, and now we're off to game 7. And in game 7, the most important game of the season, the Edmonton Oilers are going to completely fold, and the 2 guys scoring goals for Edmonton, James Neal and Zach Kassian. Just have to emphasize that. James Neal, Zach Kassian, your 2 goal scorers in game 7 of the first round. We'll just leave it at that. I'm sorry, but who's winning the Stanley Cup? The Vancouver Canucks are beating the New York Rangers. Vancouver was what, 18th in the entire league? No, it's time to pack this game up. Alright, Auston Matthews, you absolutely sucked in the postseason. You had 5 points, but you were also -7. You were terrible. Now, Edmonton, after last season, you have incredibly high expectations. First in the entire league, still haven't figured out how, because look at this team. How did y'all finish first in the entire league? It doesn't make sense to me, but you gotta try to run it back. Meanwhile, Toronto, you have incredibly low expectations. Make the playoffs. That's literally it. Nah, things are really starting to get out of hand here. Edmonton, 4th in the entire league. That's great and all. The Toronto Maple Leafs, what are y'all doing? Like, respectfully, 25th in the entire league, 37, 39, and 6. You have Connor McDavid on your team instead of Auston Matthews. That's not a downgrade. You should be making the playoffs and you should be finishing top 5. Now, Auston Matthews, you took a massive step back. I mean, 79 points isn't bad, but 29 goals, these past 2 games haven't made any sense. Over in Toronto, you guys got to find a way to explain yourselves. I mean, Connor McDavid, 85 points, that's not bad by any means. Joe Thornton, -29. I'm assuming you were the worst guy here for plus minus. No, you weren't. Zach Hyman was -35. I think we lost because of 1 line and 1 defenseman. Because outside these 4 guys, these numbers aren't terrible, but these 4 right here, abysmal. Now, Now Edmonton, you have another chance in the postseason. You got disappointed last year after being first in the entire league, losing to the eventual Stanley Cup champs, however, but now you got to take on a different Canadian team, and that's the Winnipeg Jets. It's good to see the Edmonton Oilers aren't going to be messing around. They're picking up 3 goals in 4 straight games, and that's going to be enough for them to complete the sweep. And after a clean sweep over the Winnipeg Jets, our next round should actually be a bit easier. We have the Arizona Coyotes. Okay, what's going on here? That's back-to-back sweeps. We've reached the conference finals, and this team's 8-0. There's no reason we should be 8-0. So far, the Edmonton Oilers are on pace to go 16-0 in the playoffs. I would love for somebody to explain the logic behind that, but you know what? We're just going to keep on rolling here. Now, I don't think we've ever seen a team in this position before, having a 3-1 lead and now headed to Game 7. No, I don't think that's happened in today's video yet. But luckily in overtime, the Edmonton Oilers are going to find a way to come out on top, and that's with the help of a Tyler Ennis goal, and this team's off to the Stanley Cup final. So now it's officially time for Auston Matthews to get his revenge. The Toronto Maple Leafs have won 1 Stanley Cup without him, while the Edmonton Oilers, they're yet to win one without Connor McDavid, but now here's your opportunity to do that. And just like that, another sweep. Besides that Dallas Stars series, this team was 12-0. Didn't lose a game except for the conference finals. Whoever's in net for the Edmonton Oilers, whether it's Mikko Koskinen or Mike Smith, they just put up a 950 and then like a 120. This team went 16-3. I can't explain that. I can't even form words to explain how dominant Edmonton was. Okay, nah, this is hilarious. Auston Matthews, 4th on the team in scoring, 16 points. Bro picked up 3 goals, and Dominic Cahoon picked up more points than him. 81 overall, Dominic Cahoon, 6 goals, 11 assists, 17 points. More than Leon Draisaitl, more than Auston Matthews. Also, here's Mike Smith's numbers. He put up a 938 and a 186. What just happened? So Auston Matthews, you're coming off a Stanley Cup. Things are looking great for this Edmonton Oilers team, and I'm expecting this team to make another deep push once again. Now, Toronto, on the other hand, y'all haven't made the playoffs in 2 seasons. I don't know what you're doing here. You have a 95 overall Connor McDavid, 90 overall Mitch Marner, 87 overall William Nylander, 88 overall John Tavares. Your defense is pretty strong, and so is your goaltending. Literally play up to expectations, and y'all are straight. I'm fully convinced that this is a joke now. Not only did Toronto not make the playoffs, neither did Edmonton. Edmonton was 19th in the league, 39, 35, and 8. And where was Toronto? They were one of the worst teams in the entire league, 36, 40, and 6. Scoring on Edmonton, let's look at it real quick. Auston Matthews, 93 points, 39 goals, 54 assists. At least he hit 90 points. Now, the Toronto Maple Leafs, y'all have to explain yourselves. 3 straight seasons and 3 straight games where you haven't made the playoffs. McDavid, 85 points, 34 goals, 51 helpers. What was the plus minus looking like? Wayne Simmons was the worst guy here, minus 25. It looks like everyone was terrible except that first line. Yep, the first line was great. Outside that, everyone sucked. So on that note, it's time for us to head into our final NHL game, NHL 23. So the goal is simple. Make the playoffs for the Edmonton Oilers. Auston Matthews, you're 94 overall. The goal for the Toronto Maple Leafs, also to make the playoffs. McDavid, you're 97 overall. Both of these teams are good. Make the playoffs. That's all I ask. You guys are the biggest clowns of all time. I will never forgive you for this. You allowed the St. Louis Blues to make the playoffs. I mean, you're not in the same conference, so I mean, I can't really put that one on you. But bro, 17th in the entire league. Edmonton made the playoffs though, so I guess we can celebrate that. But they're 10th in the entire league, so we're not celebrating that. I take it back. McDavid, you're an absolute disappointment. 89 points. This team sucks. We're moving on from it. I am not looking at this team anymore. Give me the Edmonton Oilers. Let me see what Auston Matthews did. I can't believe this team missed the playoffs 4 straight years. Auston Matthews, 47 goals, 42 helpers, 89 points. A fantastic season from you. Now top it off with one more Stanley Cup. But I doubt that's going to happen because you have to play the Vegas Golden Knights in the first round. I'll see you guys after we get swept in 3. And I'm incredibly stunned by this, but somehow it's going to happen. The Edmonton Oilers are taking down the Vegas Golden Knights in 6 games. And technically our next matchup should be easier. It's the Seattle Kraken. I don't think Seattle is quite as good as Vegas. Still a solid team, but not to the likes of Vegas. And although I said this should be an easier task, we're off to Game 7 after winning Game 6. So we were down 3-2 at one point. Yeah, so it's 3-1 after the first period. Okay, I was about to say this game's over. We're off to overtime. Yeah, never mind, it is over. 6-5. And Andre Burakovsky scored the goal to send us to overtime. Seems like the most fitting end.